Can start.
Bem-vindos. Welcome to the COST Brazil Virtual Awareness event. My name is Svetlana Voinova. I'm COST Administrative Officer, and I have the honor to open this event today. I'm very happy to see that our event found a lot of interest in Brazil. This means that this event is meaningful for you and for your research. I hope this event will be very useful for your future work. Let me introduce the agenda of today's event. So I hope yes, please, thank you. And after the welcome words by Mr. Bernardo Milano and the ambassador Achilles Zalur from the Brazilian side, Professor Paulo Ferrao, the president of the COST Association, will welcome you and present you the COST program. We will continue with the presentation about COST International Cooperation by Catalina Alfoldi, a COST Policy Officer, and the presentation from Dr. Karina Marcus, COST Scientific Officer, about the COST action and how to get involved in it. Then Dr. Andreas Karoli Gombert and Dr. Leandro Scholz will talk about their COST experience and benefits of participation in COST action. And we will end the event with a Q&A session. But before we start with the welcome words, let me present you the instructions for Zoom and the Zoom etiquette for this event. This webinar will be recorded. You can ask questions during the webinar using the button Q&A at the bottom of your screen. You can ask questions anonymously. For that, please check the box before sending your question. Also, you have the possibility to upvote questions that interest you. This way, they will get up on top of the list of the questions, and it will give them more chance to be answered. And questions sent in the YouTube channel will also be monitored, and all the questions will be answered after the presentation in the Q&A session. We will have a few polls appearing throughout the webinar. Finally, COST takes very seriously the GDPR, General Data Protection Regulation. With due regard to our obligations under GDPR, and by courtesy to all participants, we therefore ask you neither take screenshot nor record parts or all the discussions. We also ask you not to display names of the participants on social media or any other platform during and after the event without their proper consent. Thank you very much for your kind cooperation. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Bernardo Milano, Head of the Office of International Affairs of the Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation. Please, Mr. Milano, the virtual floor is yours.
Thank you very much, dear Svetlana Voinova, and all of you that are, giving us this opportunity to share the experiences of COST actions with the Brazilian people that will participate of this event. So thank you very much for this opportunity. Thank you for your kind words. And well, let me start greeting Achilles Zalur, Ambassador Achilles Zalur, my good friend of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Professor Paulo Ferrao, President of the COST Association, Caroline Alfoldi, Karina Marcus, Andreas Karoli Gombert, Leandro Scholz, and Svetlana Voinova, and the other people that are participating of this event. Thank you very much for being here. Well, it's very good to be here connected with you for this important event. It's a real pleasure for me to be part of it. For the ones who still don't know me, even though Svetlana just introduced me, I am Bernardo Milano, and I am the head of the International Affairs Office of the Brazilian Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation. My work here, among many other things, is to help to develop international cooperation with partners in multilateral and bilateral forums. Promoting coast actions can be considered one of my responsibilities here in Brazil. The European cooperation in science and technology provides support for the promotion of international cooperation and networking in the scientific research community. The Coast Actions is an initiative for cooperation and promotion of science between Brazil and the European Union also. And the European Union has been one of our preferential partners, considering that we share the same values of integrity and mutual benefit. Our historical ties in science, technology, and innovation with the European Union should have a key role in solving society's problems, and is also part of MCTI mission here in Brazil. So among the coast actions, we will find areas like health, and always a current topic, especially nowadays with this pandemic, circular economy, climate, reforestation, social studies, sustainable development, and many, many other areas of mutual interest for Brazil and the European Union. Okay, today's agenda aims to inform the Brazilian research community about COST's role in promoting and spreading research excellence, the role and impact of the COST program, and how to engage in COST actions. So thanks to COST Association for hosting and organizing this event. I'm wishing to all participants a fruitful experience in promoting and spreading research excellence. Thank you very much for this opportunity once again. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Milano, for your welcome words. I would like to give floor now to the Ambassador Zalur, who is Director of Technological Promotion at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Please, Mr. Ambassador, the floor is yours.
Bom dia a todos, bom dia especialmente ao professor Paulo Cruz. Good morning to everybody. Good morning to my friend Bernardo Milano and to all the delegation of COST. I'll be very brief, as is my habitude. Just to stress that on our side, we are very mobilized to strengthen, promote, and continue scientific and technological cooperation between Brazil and the European Union. For us, it is a priority. The very first event that Bernardo and myself co-hosted was the joint commission with the EU. Remember, Bernardo, almost 2 years ago. And I've been always very convinced of the importance for us, and I think also for the European Union and European countries, of strengthening this cooperation for mutual benefit. Just this, in the space of 3 weeks, we're going to have 3 joint commissions with European countries, EU countries, Sweden, Germany, and Netherlands, right? The first 2 already happened. Netherlands will come soon. Have very strong bilateral cooperation with several European countries. These that I mentioned are just 3 that work best. With Portugal, it's more than cooperation. I think in this today's context, when everybody is rushing to digitalize, to move into the 4.0 paradigm, to digitalize industry, health, education, agriculture, Brazil and Portugal are much stronger together. The back and forth between Brazilian and Portuguese researchers and entrepreneurs is particularly strong in the digital area. And I think, Professor Paulo Cruz, that Brazil and Portugal together, we can be a digital power, and we can be a bridge between Europe and Latin America that will benefit both regions as we move into this decade of digitalization. We sometimes have some difficulties. Life is like that. We have some difficulties, the way that the European Union finances scientific and technological cooperation is very strong, very structured, but it's very different from ours. The European Union does everything in a multi-year framework. We struggle for this year budget, no, not even next year, because we have to approve the budget and then we have to practically grab the money from the financial, from the treasury authorities. So sometimes there are setbacks relating to that. The volume of cooperation between Brazil and the EU has gone down in the under Horizon 2020 because of some kind of mismatch between the way that we finance projects, I think. But the financial value has gone down, but not the scientific and technological value. I think that this has gone up, and we are very eager to learn more about cost ideas for the next decade, for the next year, for the post-COVID area. We think also we have a lot to offer to Europe in terms of scientific and technological cooperation. I always recall that Brazil is a leader in 3 particular areas that aircraft manufacturing, aircraft engineering, deep sea oil exploration, and agritech, agricultural technology. These are 3 areas in which the research that is done here in Brazil is top with almost every country in the world. But it's not enough. We must also improve. Our partnership with Portugal in the digital area is very strong. Our partnership with the European Union on regulation, on data protection, on dialogue with Europe is crucial. We have also a very strong relation. I was going to say the UK, but the UK is no longer with us. It's left the webinar, but it's still, they are a very close friend, and it's a very important relationship, both for Brazil and for the European Union. Now I can say this phrase. I never thought I was going to say something like that. But I will not take any more time. I want to learn more about cost. I want people in Brazil to learn more about how we can work together. You have 100% support from the political authorities in Brazil to bring us closer and to get our innovative companies, our research centers together and prepare our societies for the challenges ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador. And I would like to thank you again, both Brazilian speakers, for your warm welcome. Thank you so much. And now I would like Karina to continue with the presentation. But before we start with the first presentation and welcome words from the cost side, I would like to propose you the first poll of today's event. Karina, can you please launch the presentation and the poll? Yeah, voila. The first question is, have you heard about cost before? So precisely, have you heard about cost before the announcement of today's event? So if you have seen somewhere the information about cost, so I give you a few seconds to be able to answer this close question. You have a possibility to answer yes or no to this question, if you heard about cost before this event. So approximately half of you heard about cost before, exactly half. Yes, Karina, please, thank you for sharing the result. So, and half of the participants have never heard about cost before. Thank you very much. I stop sharing the result. This is for us also to know the audience. So maybe also tailor a little bit the presentations of today. Okay, thank you so much. And Now, it's my pleasure for me to introduce your COST president, Professor Paulo Ferrao. Professor Ferrao is a full professor at the Instituto Superior Técnico of the Universidade de Lisboa, where he leads the Energy Initiative, the PhD program in Sustainable Energy Systems, and the INPLUS Research Center for Studies in Innovation, Technology, and Policy Research. Professor Ferrao will welcome the audience and introduce the COST program. Please, Professor Ferrao.
Thank you so much for your very kind introduction. And
so Professor, may I apologize because I just noticed that I called you Paulo Cruz, and I'm deeply sorry.
It's not.
It's a pity that we didn't meet before and get to know each other better. Sorry for that.
No, it's a problem. It's wonderful. So, first of all, let me really thank very much Ambassador Aquiles Aluar and Dr. Bernardino Milano for their strong support to COST. It is, of course, very important to us. I would also like to greet Dr. Gombert, the colleagues from the Ministry of Science in Brazil, the colleagues, and particularly the researchers and the colleagues in the research community in Brazil, which, of course, are very good friends of Europe and are very important to all of us. And as I promised, if you don't mind, and I've already asked permission for this, I will change to our language, to Portuguese, because of course this is a unique opportunity for me as well to speak in Portuguese and to speak your and our language. E por isso, deixem-me dizer que é com enorme satisfação que participo na abertura deste evento com o Brasil, o que de facto é muito importante, e gostava em primeiro lugar de vos agradecer pela organização deste evento e do apoio que já deram ao COST, que é um evento dedicado à comunidade brasileira de pesquisa e de inovação. Este evento é, na verdade, um marco importante nas relações do COST com o Brasil e na promoção da participação de pesquisadores de todo o Atlântico nas redes de pesquisa que chamamos Ações COST. A COST é uma organização intergovernamental. Portanto, é importante dizer, e agora que estamos a falar, é como se estivéssemos juntos, dizer ao Sr. Embaixador Zaluar, embora o Reino Unido esteja fora do COST, da União, ele está dentro do COST, portanto o Reino Unido é membro efetivo do COST. Portanto, o COST tem 39 membros que estão aqui organizados, que são membros de pleno direito do COST, um é o partner member, que é a África do Sul. Depois temos outros membros que aqui vêm, que se chamam os membros de proximidade da Europa. E depois temos a rede mundial, portanto, e temos os parceiros internacionais do COST, onde está incluído o Brasil. Aqui a grande diferença que tem é que os países que são membros ou membros associados conseguem financiar os seus próprios investigadores e, portanto, eles são financiados. No caso de ser um parceiro internacional, o COST permite que eles participem, portanto, participam em todas as reuniões, têm acesso a toda a informação, mas não têm um financiamento específico. E, obviamente, seria uma grande ambição para mim que um dia o Brasil pudesse associar-se e ser membro do COST. Isso seria para mim uma grande satisfação e com certeza permitiria aumentar muito a nossa cooperação. Mas tenho a certeza que o principal motivo para a participação dos investigadores neste evento se prende com o seu interesse em poder trabalhar mais de perto com os seus pares europeus, e não só, como aqui vemos, mas também em garantir que o COST é o instrumento certo para os servir e para, como disse o Sr. Embaixador, para os aproximar da Europa e das redes de investigação europeias. Vou fazer aqui uma pequena introdução ao que é o COST e em seguida os meus colegas falarão melhor e explicarão ainda mais com detalhe o que é o COST. Portanto, o COST fornece uma plataforma única de cooperação e tem tido imenso sucesso em ligar os investigadores em todo o mundo desde 1971, portanto funciona há quase 50 anos, e tem sido, de facto, muito importante, porque é uma plataforma única onde as pessoas se juntam, as ideias se desenvolvem e, de facto, contribui decisivamente para este processo de internacionalização das comunidades de investigação e desenvolvimento e para avanços científicos e tecnológicos pelo mundo. Hoje temos 292 ações COST, eu já vou explicar o que é a ação COST, mas no fundo a ação COST é uma rede temática de cooperação que é financiada pelo COST. No âmbito destas ações COST, realizaram-se já 204 training schools, e o COST financia anualmente cada ação com cerca de 135 mil euros, nomeadamente para fazer esta cooperação, proporcionando, por exemplo, pequenas estadias de investigadores, 2, 3 semanas, que são as Short-Term Scientific Missions, e às vezes mais tempo. Nasci neste momento mais de 2.000, e temos mais de 45 mil investigadores atualmente envolvidos em projetos de cooperação no COST. E o COST teve, no Horizonte 2020, cerca de 300 milhões de euros de financiamento. E, portanto, uma ação COST é uma ação em que um país, um membro, tem uma ideia, por exemplo, como disse o Sr. Embaixador, pode ser, por exemplo, em agritech, e tem uma ideia de cooperação tecnológica em torno de um determinado tema, convida outros proponentes para fazer a proposta, que depois é avaliada, em mérito absoluto. Tem que haver no mínimo 7 proponentes, e depois, se esta ação for apoiada, e isto é de facto a característica mais importante do COST, qualquer outro país se pode depois juntar, depois de ela já estar criada. E isso tem de facto sido um fator de enorme sucesso, porque permite que todos os países se juntem em torno das boas ideias que foram aprovadas no plano do COST. E por isso temos muito orgulho de servir esta rede de 45 mil investigadores que se juntaram em projetos financiados pelo COST, portanto, em redes de cooperação. E, claro, estas redes são estabelecidas por cada um dos investigadores, com ideias deles, que livremente se associam entre eles, e por isso é aquilo que se designa em inglês um processo bottom-up, totalmente aberto a qualquer tema, e que mostram ser a base para os pesquisadores de uma determinada região colaborarem com outros pares na Europa e de outros lugares, e por isso também se pode dizer, aproveitando aqui a presença do Sr. Embaixador, que com certeza o COST, de alguma maneira, também contribui para o que é hoje tão importante como a diplomacia científica. E, de facto, as redes de atividade do COST não apenas conectam ciência excelente, mas também promovem, de facto, como disse, a cooperação, a mobilidade e a circulação de talentos. Portanto, estas atividades são caracterizadas por uma livre circulação do conhecimento e das pessoas, razão pela qual a COST dá uma contribuição valiosa para o avanço da ciência. E isso levou, de facto, já a inúmeros sucessos comprovados e tem sido sempre premiada a organização do COST com um grande nível de satisfação por parte dos seus investigadores. É claro que aqui, hoje, o que me interessa principalmente é trazer mais Brasil para o COST, e que haja mais COST no Brasil. Também vos queria dar nota de uma coisa importante que, de facto, tanto o Dr. Bernardino Milano como o Sr. Embaixador Aquiles da Luar mencionaram. O COST, há um interesse em ter mais sucesso na Europa, mais sucesso no financiamento europeu. E trago-vos aqui um número que é bastante interessante, é que o COST tem sido uma ferramenta extraordinária para a promoção das redes de pesquisa na Europa e um pré-portal para outros esquemas de financiamento de investigação europeus. Nomeadamente, devido às redes que se estabelecem durante as iniciativas do COST, verifica-se que a taxa de sucesso no Horizon 2020 para projetos que foram formados, cujas candidaturas foram formadas no âmbito das redes do COST, tiveram uma taxa de sucesso de 37%. Isto compara com 10% ou 11%, que é a média da taxa de sucesso. Ou seja, de facto, estar envolvido numa rede de COST é um extraordinário motor que alavanca o sucesso da participação noutras redes. Mas também é bem verdade que as comunidades de pesquisa e inovação do Brasil já estão hoje bem ativas no COST e traduzem-se na participação de cerca de 10% das ações de cost, o que é importante. Portanto, hoje, investigadores brasileiros participam em cerca de 10% das atuais iniciativas que temos financiadas. E isto é uma base sólida para construir o futuro e também indica que há, com certeza, ganhos em aumentar esta participação. Por isso, eu estou confiante de que novos talentos acessarão as ações COST em execução e terão partido dos talentos que já existem, com certeza, afirmados na Europa e noutras regiões, juntando-se à equipa de proponentes, com proponentes secundários ou se tornarão especialistas externos que se podem registar no nosso banco de dados. E por isso convido-vos naturalmente a concorrer. As Open Call da COST estão continuamente abertas. A próxima data de coleta de propostas é para 29 de outubro de 2021, mas de facto a qualquer momento se podem juntar às propostas existentes. Isto é uma mensagem muito importante e que devem aproveitar. E por isso, para concluir, gostaria de sublinhar que tudo se resume a pessoas e a oportunidades. E por isso estou muito satisfeito por ter hoje o Dr. Gombert e o Dr. Schultz entre nós, pois eles podem partilhar uma experiência em primeira mão e opiniões pessoais sobre os benefícios de participar numa Cost Action. Tendo dito isto, naturalmente, o que vos desejo é um evento de grande sucesso e que ele seja, como já foi dito, uma inspiração para que possamos vir a ter mais COST no Brasil e mais Brasil no COST, pois todos ganharíamos muito com o reforço desta cooperação transatlântica. O que vos digo é que vos dou um grande abraço, naturalmente, e recebemos a bordo das nossas ações do COST com uma enormíssima alegria. Gostava de, naturalmente, de desejar a todos um grande evento e um abraço muito amigo deste vosso continente irmão, diria assim. Muito obrigado a todos.
Thank you very much, Professor Ferrao. And thank you for your very informative and kind presentation in Portuguese. I'm sure that the Brazilian participants could follow it easily. And after this first presentation, let me continue with our slides, and I will here ask you a second question. Here comes the second poll question. Please, Karina, show us the poll, launch it. So the second question is, do you have experience with international cooperation? So meaning, have you already cooperated with other researchers from other countries? And the possibilities to answer is yes, no, or more or less. You have some experience or some contact with international researchers from other countries. So I wait a few seconds for you to answer this question. So if you have already experience of international cooperation with, okay, so more or less we're now 80% answered the poll. And here are the results. Yes, 93% of our audience have already international cooperation experience in research. So only 7% have never cooperated or only made research on the national level. Thank you very much for your answers. Thank you. So, and now we will go to the presentation again. Let's continue with the presentation about COST international cooperation. Here I ask you to welcome Katalin Alfondi, COST Policy Officer. Please, Katalin, the virtual floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Svetlana. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you. I understand that in the audience we are already fully global and we cover all the parts of the day. My role today here is quite lucky or unlucky, you can decide it by yourself, because I'm after the presentation of Professor Ferrao, that you already gave, who already gave you an introduction into cost, and you know now you understand, or you can start to understand the frame and the rationale of the program. And I'm just before the presentation of Dr. Karina Marcus, my colleague, who is going to introduce you into the real details and give you the understanding on how to use the cost actions for your benefit, fully for your benefit, and how to engage with them. So basically, my role is to bridge the two presentations and to try to give you a small insight, excuse me, into how, and maybe I can then share my slides. I hope it will go into presentation mode. Yes. And then, so you will understand how cost actions are working. So this is now to give you an insight into cost international cooperation approach. First, I would like to give some ideas or thoughts about the why to have global cooperation and why cost feels that it is important. And here I don't think that I will say extreme novelties to you, as we are living in a connected world that is connected, that never unprecedentedly to previous ages and eras, and we feel the interdependence, especially in the current times. With all these around us, we are facing challenges that are not popping up their heads only in small local places, but these are challenges that are trying us all on a global level. So there needs to be a research that will result in providing responses on a global level. And this is why cost is, this is the rationale behind the cost actions, also searching the answers on a global level. You already saw this map on the globality of cost, and with the different color codes of countries. I understand with some, I understand that you got the first insight into the color code definition. Just let me have a very short recap on that. We have the cost full members that are colored in Burgundy on this map. They are the countries that are composing the cost association, and as you can see, they are based in Europe. Around these countries, there are the direct neighbor countries, the near neighbor countries, in the northern shore of Africa and the eastern part of Europe, which are the countries that are neighboring cost, and with whom we as a cost association think closely, and we try to integrate them into the best way we can in the cost actions. But then we don't stop there, because we feel that expertise, knowledge, and excellence, it is available all over the world, and it is needed in order that the research results would be breakthrough. So all the other countries that are highlighted in orange, gray, and green, the researchers and innovators and scholars from these countries are also welcome and encouraged to participate in the cost actions. And as you can see, Brazil is one of the orange ones, and orange means that it's already the country where we have participants in the cost actions. And in from Brazil, we already have about 30 actions with Brazilian participants. So you can hear at least two of them, a little bit later, to give them the insight how cost looks like from Brazil. In order to go international and to do the work of cost, there are the so-called cost actions, the platforms that are serving for global networking. These cost actions are nothing else but self-established scientific programs, and the beauty of them that they are based on a challenge that is identified by the research communities. And as such, they are the platforms to establish long-term and trusted cooperation. with partners from all over the world. The cost actions do aim to advance the state of art of science, and they can be adapted to the needs of the science and the community. And by that, they ensure the mutual benefit, and they can have also very strong focus on interdisciplinarity. Cost actions are networks that do networking, and this allows researchers not only to learn from each other, but also to share data and infrastructure not available in one or the other country. And they can jointly propose common projects, they can develop them, they can also introduce them, because the cost actions receive funding for networking activities. And before finishing and giving the floor to the next Paul and then the next presentation, let me just cite two very recent examples for cost global networking with the participation of Brazil. One is the LITME network that is dealing with languages in the human-machine era, where one of the secondary proposers is Brazil. And the aim of this action is to have an insight on the Portuguese language varieties from Portugal, but as well as from Brazil. The other example is the ICOMMIX network, which is also a network where Brazil was already in the secondary, or is in the secondary, as a secondary proposer, was in the proposing network, and which the network aims to look into the Brazilian cultural heritage, to strengthen research and trade bridges between the Portuguese and Spanish communities, as well as between Brazil and Portugal, and look into comics as a tool in Portuguese language. So these are ways that you can see that, that these are the latest and newest example where you can see Brazilian researchers' involvement, but we will hear about them, as I said earlier, later. And now I give the floor back to Svetlana.
Thank you very much, Katalin, for your very clear and very informative presentation. So after this presentation from COST, we would like to ask you another question. It will be the third and last poll question of today's event. So in which science and technology fields do you work? So you see the multiple choice, including natural sciences, which include mathematics, physics, chemistry, biology, earth and environmental sciences, engineering and technology, medical and health sciences, agricultural sciences, social sciences, and humanities. Please pick up the field that's the closest to your research field and select your answer. So we have already 80% of the audience who have answered the question. So another few seconds, and we will share the results with you so that, okay, so the winner is engineering and technology. So 62% of our audience are from engineering and technology field, followed by agricultural sciences, then medical and health sciences, 31% natural sciences, and social sciences and humanity with 31% and 23% each. Thank you very much. So, and now we will continue with the presentation. I'll stop sharing the results. Okay, and I would like to give floor to Dr. Karina Marcus, Cost Scientific Officer, who will talk about the cost actions and how to engage with them. Please, Karina, the floor is yours now.
Good morning, everyone. So my name is Karina Marcus. I am a science officer here at the Cost Association, but originally I come from Brazil. So, eu fiz o meu mestrado na Universidade de São Paulo há alguns anos em Ciências da Computação e depois de um percurso passando pela França, pelo Canadá, pela França, acabei aqui em Bruxelas. E vou tentar explicar para vocês um pouco do que é uma ação COST. Vou continuar a apresentação em inglês, mas se vocês tiverem qualquer questão em português, não hesitem em usar ou Zoom ou o YouTube para perguntar e eu tentarei explicar da melhor maneira possível. Okay? So thank you very much for this attention. So here what I'd like to explain is how to engage with a cost action. So you have seen already examples of 2 actions that just started, and I'm responsible for one of them. So the first one that Catalina explained. And so there are several possibilities to participate or to engage with a cost action, and I'm going to explain you some of them. So first of all, what is exactly a cost action? So this was already mentioned by Professor Ferrão, by Catalina. So just to synthesize a little bit, it's a network of people that are going to work on a memorandum of understanding. And this is a text, not very long, usually it's like 15 to maximum 20 pages, where they explain what they want to do during this 4 years of duration of the action. So every cost action lasts 4 years. It starts at least with 7 countries, but we have seen that very quickly it goes and goes to 29, well, 30, and the maximum is 39 countries from the cost countries. And in this memorandum of understanding, they have to describe what exactly they want to achieve as research coordination and capacity building objectives. So those are the 2 main points of the memorandum of understanding. And usually there is a budget for these 4 years of €500,000. And this is for mainly supporting activities to achieve the research coordination and capacity building objectives. So what exactly can be used with this money? So the cost actions can organize several types of meetings. So the core group meetings, so management committee, that is the main decision makers of the action, working groups, so people that are going to work on the research activities, can organize workshops and conference and other meetings. Then we have the possibility to go and present the results of the action somewhere. Then we have the training schools that were also mentioned by Professor Ferrão. Then we have the possibility of some students to participate in conferences. So this has some very well-defined conditions. And then we have also the short-term scientific missions. So when someone travels to another country, to another institute in order to work for some time. And of course, also we have the dissemination of the results of the action. So for people coming from Brazil, from usually the international partner countries, including Brazil, what is interesting are those here that are highlighted because, well, the dissemination parts are not allowed for the IPC, so the international partner countries. So the details, we can find this, our Bible, let's say, for all the description of the different networking tools. So once you know what is an action, how can you participate in a running cost action? So we have the action, it has started, so it's already available in the cost website. You have the description of all the actions in the cost website. So the idea is that you go and find an interesting action that is in your field, and you check the memorandum of understanding to see exactly what are the objectives, how you can contribute, and what will be the contribution that you could get from the action, because it's mainly based on the mutual benefits. Once you have done this, you can contact the action chair, that is the person that is coordinating the action, and express your interest, saying, well, I'd like to participate because the topic is this, and my experience is that, and this is how I can collaborate. You have to submit the background information, and then the action chair, so the coordinator, launches the procedure in our internal system, that is what we call the e-cost, and then the decision of the action will vote on this participation, and then it approves, the cost association will approve. So in a more pragmatic way, once you have this, you are a participant of the cost action, you can participate in the different meetings. So as an observer, you can participate in the working groups, you can be taking part in a short-term scientific mission or participate in a training school, etc. So the different networking tools that I mentioned before. So the idea is that you look for an action or in your field using this link that goes from the COST website. So you see that there is the browse actions here, and then you can look for the specific number of an action if you know, but what I would advise is really to make a search that you can search in the title or in the description of the action, and you can also look for other fields. So once you have searched for the different actions, you're going to obtain a list of actions. And for each one of them, you have the number, you have the title, you have the main contacts, so the number. And then you can find also in the action documents, what I mentioned before, the memorandum of understanding. So this is the document that describes exactly what the action is doing and how you can contribute. The examples that were given by Catalina were mainly in the humanities or linguistics or science, human science, but we have a lot of collaboration also in different fields, in science, in mathematics, in engineering, in chemistry, and so on. So it's not really related only to the particularity of the language Portuguese. So once you find your interesting action, you look at the memorandum, you see how you can contribute, and then you contact the action chair. So for each one of the actions, you have the contact person here, and you can write to him or her and say, state your interest and the benefits. So there were 45 new cost actions that started in 2020. So you can also see a resume of the actions that were starting here, and 80 actions were approved in 2019. So you see that as the actions last 4 years, there's still a lot of work to be done in those actions that they started. And so you have in total more than 120 actions potential for your interest and contribution. Okay. So then, of course, maybe there is you have already some contacts with some people here in Europe, and you want to participate in the action from the beginning. So as a secondary proposer in the cost action. So in this sense, what you have to do, so once you have people here, because, well, Brazil cannot submit a proposal by, so a Brazilian participant cannot submit a proposal by him or herself. So it has to be submitted by someone in Europe. And this goes through the cost open call. That is a simple one-step application process. So that's really a very easy one. And to submit this, you can check in the open call page of the cost website. So if you have already some ongoing collaboration in a specific field, and you have an idea for networking, for objectives that are in research coordination and capacity building, then you can incorporate in the proposal as a secondary proposal, and they can be then submitted with Brazil properly mentioned in the submission stage. Okay? So this opens the door already from the beginning to the participants coming from Brazil. So there was one that closed, well, this month, so mid-November, and the next one will be end of October next year. So if you have ongoing collaborations, you can start discussing about possibilities to submit something next year. Okay. And then there is a third possibility, but it's not really so involved in a cost action, but you can be involved in the cost program as an external evaluator. Then this is the idea to become what we call the cost expert. And the cost expert, you can be called to help us to evaluate the proposals, to participate on the assessment of the cost results. So because they have a review on the second year and the last year, and also some different activities that we may organize. So there is a specific page that is the Cost EU Experts, where you have all the information available and also how to enroll in our database. Okay, so this I recommend that you take a look. You'll be then redirected to our internal system, so that is the eCost. And the eCost, you create your profile. So you have to create an account. Once you create an account, you have to fill in the personal details, your affiliations, scientific expertise, education details, and so on. So you have the different parts here on the left. And in the scientific expertise, you can put all the different science fields like engineering, chemistry, law, humanities, marketing, whatever. So where the different expertise that you are capable of. And then don't forget to click here in order to be included in the cost expert database. Okay, so this includes your name and your expertise in the database. When we're looking for people with a specific knowledge on one field, your name will be showing in the interface, and so will be possibly called for contributing to the evaluation and to the reviews. So this is something that also you can do in order to start knowing what the system is and how to interact with the system eCost. So from my part, this is all. And now I give the floor back to Svetlana. And if you have any questions, we're happy to address the questions later on after the testimonials in our question and answer session. Thank you very much. Muito obrigada.
Thank you, Karina, for your very, very useful presentation, full of tips on where and how to find information on the COST website. It will be very, very useful for the participants and for people who will watch the video of this webinar after the event. So, and we're perfectly on time. It's 5 minutes to 3 Brussels time, and probably still morning in Brasilia, and evening in Australia. But I'm very happy that today we have two cost action participants from Brazil present at this event. So Dr. Andreas Caroli Gomber from the University of Campinas is involved in two cost actions. The first one is understanding and exploiting the impacts of low pH on microorganisms, and he's also involved in the action non-conventional yeast for the production of bioproducts. So please share with us your cost experience, Andreas. Please, virtual floor is yours.
Thank you, Svetlana. Can you hear me? Yes, are you listening? Can someone just confirm?
Yes, Andrea.
Thanks. So thank you very much for this kind invitation. My name is Andreas. I am Brazilian, before anyone asks, and I work at the University of Campinas. So feel free to also email me after the event in case you have any other question about the cost action. So I didn't bring any slides. I just wanted to tell you maybe in the next 5 minutes how I got involved in the cost actions and what I think about them. So everything started in 2015 when I was at a conference in Spain on microbial stress. So I work with industrial microbiology. And, in this conferences, people gather in the evening, go to a restaurant, have dinner, etc. And people came up with this idea of proposing a new cost action on the impact of low pH on microorganisms. So I was there sitting in the group, And that was when I became aware of the cost actions. I confess I had never heard about them before. So people started brainstorming, and it was something that I found very interesting, because the idea was to put together people from different areas. So people who work with bacteria, people who work with fungi, people who work with yeast like I do, to share knowledge, to share experiences, and to share methods, which is something kind of unusual, because usually we are always sticking to our own fields. We go to our own conferences. And I think this is an opportunity to open our minds. So I was part in this cost action from the very beginning. I mean, even in the elaboration, when people were writing the proposal, I contributed a very little piece, obviously, but I did read the text, I sent comments, and I made some contributions. So that was very nice. And then in the first trial, we didn't succeed. It was almost approved, but was not approved. And then in the following year, we tried again, and then it was approved. And this is led by a researcher in England at the University of Birmingham, and co-chaired by another researcher in Rome, in Italy. Well, what happened after the cost action started? Obviously, you start talking to all the people involved in the action. You start taking part in meetings and in small conferences. The action is divided in working groups. So you choose to be part of some working groups, and then you discuss with a smaller group of people about a specific topic. And this year in February, we had a big meeting in Lisbon that was right before the pandemic started. And I was invited to give a talk there. And it was the opening talk of this event. So it was quite thrilling for me. And it was a very, very nice experience. So after the talk and during the whole conference, I managed to talk to so many people. So I was even invited to talk at another conference in Europe. But in the end, it didn't take place because of the pandemics. But for sure, it made also people aware of the science we are doing here in Brazil. So I think, you know, it's about networking. It's about showcasing your science. It's about, I even got an invitation to write a mini review article for a very prestigious journal in the past month. And I think, I'm not sure, but I think this is also a consequence of, you know, this networking. Yeah, and then in this meeting in Lisbon, I met the leader of the other cost action. And that was how I got involved in the second cost action. So I talked to them. It was a very interesting topic. And I said I was interested. And they said, oh, why don't you come and join our action? And then I joined the action. We had a virtual meeting like 3 weeks ago. So everybody could give a small presentation. So again, you are networking with another group of people. You are showcasing your science. And then, you know, it has a consequences, like when you submit a manuscript for a publication, some of those folks might be the reviewer. I mean, networking, it has many consequences, which I don't think I can tell them all here. And then from this meeting 3 weeks ago, I also found a new collaborator in Hungary, which I was in need of for a specific analysis I wanted to do with my data. So that's another thing that can happen. You find new collaborators. So this is a little bit the story of these two cost actions. And I would just like to summarize by telling you what I think, in my opinion, are the benefits, let's say, of being part in these actions. So one of them is networking, right? It's always good to meet new people, to be in direct contact with people. You get invitations to conferences. You might get someone to review your papers, and it's always different to review a paper from a person you have known before. Second, you identify new collaborators, which you might need for your research. Third, you are showcasing your own research and making it more visible. So you might get more citations. You you might get more attention to what you're doing. 4, I think in a way we also contribute to show people in developed countries that we can do interesting science in countries like Brazil, because unfortunately there is still some, I would say there are still some prejudices around this. And 5th, I think it's mind-opening, because you learn how people in different areas do science. So yeah, this was my testimonial. Again, thanks for this attention, for your attention, and I'm happy to answer questions if there are any.
Thank you very much, Andres. Your presentation makes me feel proud because I'm working for COST and our work is meaningful for the researchers. That's exactly what we do to enable the cooperation between the researchers. And now I please invite Dr. Leandro Scholz from the Universidade Federal do Paraná, who will talk about his experience in the cost action, a new network of European bioimage analysts to advance life science imaging, NeoBiomes. Please, Leandro, the floor is yours.
Hello, good morning everyone in Brazil, and good afternoon people in Europe. As Svetlana was introducing myself, my name is Leandro, and I'm currently a PhD candidate, so sorry about that. So I'm not a doctor yet. So I guess my point of view would be from someone who is an early career investigator, and that ended up meeting people while on a course, and then basically I happened to be part of this cost action. So everything started when I was doing my master's in Brazil and at Universidade Federal do Paraná. I went to this course at the European Molecular Biology Laboratory in Germany for a bioimage analysis course. And when we were presenting our own work during the course, me and the trainers, we realized we were doing something very similar, and a few of the trainers were members of the cost action. So basically they say, okay, so well, it would be great if you could join us in the action, because I think that what you're doing would be very useful, would contribute to what we're doing here in the cost action. So basically that's what happened. And for me in particular, as an early career researcher, it is an incredible opportunity to get to know people from the field and to learn a lot by participating in the working groups. And I mentioned that in particular because I was quite involved in 2 of the working groups of that cost action. So I contributed to, I'm not going to get into details obviously, but basically would be the first one as a benchmarking tool for the bioimage analysis community to try different image analysis methods to their own images. And then it ended up also being part of a paper that I was co-author on for this action. And then secondly, a bioimage database for methods where people could search for bioimage analysis methods and see, what is out there and what is in the literature, what developers are creating. So for me, it was an incredible opportunity to learn, as well as learn people and get to know the field a bit better. And I guess, as Andreas was mentioning, is an incredible networking opportunity for not only if you're a lab head or a professor, but as well as an early career researcher. So keep in mind, if you're interested in participating in a cost action and you're a lab head, it would be very interesting as a growth opportunity and a career development that your students also participate in these actions. So I guess basically, in order not to repeat myself over what Andreas has spoken, I would say that would be it. So I'm happy to answer any questions and you know, clarify things. But yeah, thanks a lot for the opportunity for talking, and I'm really grateful for participating. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Leandro. And also, Andreas, for your testimonials. Also, I'm very happy to hear about your work. And thank you again for your participation. You're now located in Australia, but you accepted our invitation. Thank you so much for your availability. And now we have gotten to the last part of today's event, and we have time for a few questions. Some of the questions were already answered in the Q&A channel in Zoom. So if there are no open questions, I would like just maybe for the participant to read out loud the questions and the answers. So, please don't be shy. Ask your questions. And there was one in YouTube. So the first question was, if the proposal is approved, can other countries that are not members of the COST be invited to join the network? And Karina answered this question. Once the proposal is approved, other countries can join, and not only at the beginning, differently from other research projects. So for all actions that start in 2019 and 20, it's possible to join the actions. And I see that participants liked the answer of Karina. And the question about the presentation, will presentation be available and where to find it? So also Karina replied that it will be available in the COST website, and the video of this event will be available in the COST YouTube channel, and you have the link to download the video. So Karina, also I would like to say that it's very easy to find us on the COST website. In Who is Who, you will always find the emails address of Catalin if you have questions after the event and you need additional clarification. So you're very welcome to regularly visit the COST website for further information. So maybe if anyone wants to add something, or Karina, there was a question on YouTube. So it was in Portuguese. So would you be so kind to share with us the question and your answer?
Yes, in fact, the question was about if there is any level of proficiency or any degree of proficiency in English to join an action. And no, so we don't ask for any specific level or let's say a certificate of language knowledge, but just be aware that all the activities are organized in English. So English is the official language of the COST action activities, and the reports and the documents, everything, they are prepared in English. So we expect that even if you cannot provide a certificate, then well, you have the knowledge necessary in order to participate in international collaboration. Okay.
Thank you, Karina. Thank you. There is another question. I think it's for Leandro and Andreas, if you would like to answer. We would like to add, if there is something missing information, we will contribute to your answer. So the question is, how did Leandro and Andreas finance their participation in COST actions? Please, Andreas.
Yes, I saw this question from Marcelo. Thank you, Marcelo. Well, the COST action finances the participation, in my case at least. So the whole trip, for example, to Lisbon and staying there at a hotel and coming back to Brazil, etc., it was all financed by the COST action. So I had to pay for everything in advance, but then I was reimbursed 100%. And I guess this is how it should be, right? But you can correct me, Svetlana.
Leandro?
So in my particular case, myself being a student, that was reflected in waivers to participate in the conference, for instance. And obviously, if I didn't end up going to the conference as a trainer, because the bioimage analysis community, the new bias cost action, used to make the training schools at the same time as the conference. If I ended up being going as a trainer, I could potentially as well, you know, get the travel also costs waived.
Thank you very much, Leandro. Let me please explain to the participants how what is the level of the cost funding for the international participating countries in the actions. So once in the action lifetime, actions can always invite people from outside cost to be invited speakers. But this is only one punctual participation, and these, of course, the expenses are covered, but only once. If someone would like to participate on a regular basis, we invite, of course, you're free to join the action, and after we are certain the mutual benefit. And once it's done, it means that the participant from Brazil is also interested to have access to the research, to the result of the action work. So in this case, the cost of the participation should be covered on a national level. However, if once the Brazil is formally a member of the action, one of the parties, you can also host short-term scientific missions, so receive participants, researchers from cost countries in your laboratory, in your institution, to have exchanges. And also you can be invited as trainers. Indeed, trainees receive the training, so they are beneficiary of the knowledge. So IPC, these international partner countries, cannot be trainees, but can be trainers of the cost training schools. Thank you very much. No other questions? I don't see any open question. Yes, there is one. Could
there
cost
is
action
one
organize...
question in YouTube. So there is a question about if the participation in the activities require trip to the places or to the countries. So in fact, most of the activities in a normal situation, not a COVID one. So this is mainly I think the current situation in all over the world mostly. Most of the activities are physical ones. So we organize meetings and training schools and the workshops and so on in some of the countries that are participating in the cost action. So we have meetings in Hungary, in Portugal, in Sweden, in I don't know, Serbia, Macedonia, and so on. So there is a lot of trips, and this also helps the international collaboration, the exchange of culture, exchange of different habits, and this also is really helping in the integration of the different cultures and in the collaboration. So unfortunately now most of the activities are taking place in a remote way using this type of Zoom or Teams or WebEx or whatever you may want. But as soon as the situation becomes normal, then we expect the actions to restart the activities on local, like in local, like people asked it here. Okay.
Thank you, Karina. There is another question in Zoom. Could cost actions organize events in Brazil? I invite Karina to answer this question, please.
No, in fact, the only type of activity that can be organized is, as what Svetlana has mentioned, is the short-term scientific mission. So one person that goes to a laboratory or a university in Brazil, so the one that is participating in the action, and this really promotes the exchange. Otherwise, the other events, meetings, conference, training schools, they have to be in the countries that are participating in the action, so the full member countries, as we call. There is another related, so more or less related question is about what is the difference between cost-associated and non-associated countries. So in fact, we don't have this concept of associated. This is mainly, I think, for the European Commission, the framework, the research framework program. But in cost, we have the full members and the cooperating members. So these are the 38 members that were displayed by Professor Ferran and also by Kathleen. And the cooperating one is Israel. So those are the countries where you can have meetings organized, you can have the conference, you can have the training schools and so on. And then you have the near neighboring countries that are the ones that are just on the border to Europe. So, well, sometimes you have to cross the Mediterranean, so it's not so neighbor like this, but you have the neighboring countries. So those can participate in the action also and have, let's say, a intermediate status. And then you have the other ones like Brazil, Australia, US, Canada, and so on. So those are what we call the international partner countries. And those are the ones that can participate, but based on mutual interest. And most of the cases, I would say 99% of the cases, they have to pay for their participation, unless it's like Svetlana mentioned, it's one participation, like a special invited speaker. Okay.
May I just add to this, to Karina's answer, just to make it also to have one thing that is common for all of the countries in cost actions. Every researchers from all countries can participate in the cost action irrelevantly if they are from a cost member country, cooperating country, near neighbor country, international partner country. Maybe the conditions of participation can differ, but the possibility and the opportunity to participate and engage with the networks is there for all of the researchers. Thank you very much.
Particularly now when all the events or almost take place virtually online. So feel free, contact the actions, join events online. So there's no travel involved. So the scientific meetings are open to all the scientific community. You will be very, very welcome to join online virtual events. So I see that there are no other questions. Should we then wrap up for the discussions and Q&A session? Okay, so no more questions. I would like to thank again all the speakers of today's event, and also the Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation and the Mission of Brazil to the EU for your cooperation in the organization of the event, and all of you in the audience for your interest and your active participation. Here I say goodbye, take care and have a lovely day. Hope to see you soon in the cost actions. Goodbye.
Bye-bye, thank you.
Bye-bye. Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks.